Hey everybody, it's Anna from Shakti Shak Yoga. This is a basics class that starts on the ground and works its way up and works its way back down to the ground. Video quality is not as good because I've been having some phone issues, so hopefully you can hang out with the slightly less than great video and enjoy practice. So this is going to be a mellow, kind of slow flow basics sort of class. And so you'll want to have a strap, which could literally be anything strap-like in your house. 2 blocks, which could be some thick books. You could grab a chair if you needed it. So bolster, a pillow or 2 pillows could suffice for that. And then some sort of a blanket. So this is actually an old quilt. Literally any blanket will do, and we're going to use it at the very end when we set it to rest. And so we'll be sort of working from the ground up and back down again today, in honor of this sort of grounded season where things are working their way up from underneath the ground and back down. And with that in mind, I've got a little poem about the earthworm by Harry Edmund Martinson. This is translated by Robert Bly. And so it says, it's called The Earthworm. And it says, who really respects the earthworm? The farm worker, far under the grass and the soil. He keeps the earth always changing. He works entirely full of soil, speechless with soil and blind. He is the underneath farmer, the underground one, where the fields are getting on their harvest clothes. Who really respects him, this deep and calm earth worker, this deathless, gray, tiny farmer in the planet's soul? So go ahead and come to a comfortable seat, and if it's helpful, a block, your bolster or your blanket underneath your hips is a great idea. And just let your hands rest anywhere you'd like, on the legs and the lap, sitting up nice and tall. And we'll start with a few generous breaths. So see if you can get out of your own way and allow a big inhale to happen. Inhaling through the nose. You can exhale also through the nose or out the mouth if you prefer. And try that a few more times. The inhales, just letting them feel easy. Full, but not sort of a lot of effort around taking the breath in. And then a nice long exhale. Let the exhale last as long as it wants to. And try that a few more times. Easy but full inhale. Unhurried exhale. Last one like that. Big inhale. Long exhale. Start to bring the hands together in prayer at the heart. Think about setting an intention of loving kindness over your practice, over yourself. And any other intention that helps to guide your way this evening, helps to guide your attention, brings meaning and awareness to what you do. And then go ahead and offer up that intention. And we'll open together with 3 ohms, which you can ohm along with or just listen. Deep breath in. All right, so go ahead and float your eyes open, and we're going to lie down on our backs. As you lie down, just make sure nothing's in your way. You won't need any props for the moment. You can set your blocks up at the upper corners of the mat, and as you settle in, if you need to, bring the knees into the chest for a little hug and circle. And then we'll stretch out for a sec, so stretching long through the legs, long through the arms. Take a minute and shake the legs, so you're kind of wiggling your toes back and forth and feeling the movement of the legs and the hips. You might feel the pelvis rocking side to side. And as you stretch the arms up overhead, we'll take a little C curve and C stretch. So I won't be your mirror, I'll be doing it on the same side as you. Walk your feet down to the lower right corner of the room, of your space. Inch your hands to the upper right corner of your space, so you're kind of making a C shape. And then that might already be enough. You want to notice if your ribs and hip point rolled with you and roll them back down. If you wanted to, you could cross your left ankle over your right. And a couple things could happen here. You could tug that left wrist with your right hand. I like to actually take my left hand, hold on to my right forearm, and let the right forearm kind of draw that stretch a little deeper. Think again about descending the left ribs and the left belly. And take one more breath here. Good. Uncross, walk back through center. Let's try that the other way. So feet on the lower left diagonal, hands on the upper left diagonal. And as you set that up, keep drawing the right side body down. If you wish, right ankle can cross over the left. You can give that right wrist a tug, or you can catch hold of the left forearm and pull over with that left forearm. Think again about knitting down through the front ribs, right front ribs knit down on your exhales. And release that, come back to center, step your feet down to the mat, bending the knees, and we'll do some sort of cat-cow here. So sticking your butt out toward the floor, creating that low back curve. And then doing the opposite, smashing the low back into the ground, drawing the tailbone long. And again, neither of these moves are sort of right or wrong. You're just exploring a range of motion. So there's no such thing as correct alignment, at least right now. We're just moving dynamically. From there, find sort of a happy medium where you don't lose the low back curve, and you're not sort of smashed down to the mat, but you're not jutting the ribs too far up to the sky. Walk your feet a little further apart, knees fall together, hands touch the belly. Thinking again about creating this foundation of support underneath you. Start to circle your arms up overhead, reach for your opposite elbows. And then keep the feet as wide as your mat, separate the knees that wide and let the knees fall over to the right. We'll flow this. Knees can then fall over to the left. Drawing up and over. And then up and over. Let's do this a few more times. Just kind of moving at your own pace here. Let's take maybe 2 or 3 more repetitions. And the next time your knees fall over to the right, pause there. Stay where you are. If you wanted to, this right foot can come up and weigh the outer edge of the left knee. If that hurts your knee, not worth it, don't do it. Send the breath through the left side of the body. See if you can feel the breath moving low on the ribs, so the beginning of the waist. One more breath on this side. Free the knee, come up through center. Draw the knees over to the left. Hang out right here, or take the left foot, draw it to the outer edge of the right knee. Breathe through the right side. And then free the knee and come back up through center. And keep your left foot on the ground, left knee bending. Bring the right knee into your chest. And take an inhale. You'll feel the shin reach into the hands. As you exhale, pull the knee in a little closer. 2 more times. Inhale, knee floats away from you. Exhale, the knee draws in. 1 more time. Inhale, knee floats away. Exhale, knee draws in. And find somewhere in between those 2 points. Interlace your hands behind the back of the leg. Push the thigh into the hand. So you're not pulling your leg close in toward you. You're actually moving the leg away from you, creating space at the front of the right hip joint, and then circling your ankle a few times one way and a a few times the other way. Slide your hands higher up your leg and reach through the arms. So belly draws down, you're reaching your shoulder blades apart. If you want, you can stretch that left leg out straight. And one more breath here. If you wanted to, you could rock a few times. It's totally optional. I know not everybody's comfortable rocking, but it feels pretty nice on the back if it's okay for your spine. Good. Let's try that on the other side. So hold on to your left knee. Right foot steps down, right knee bends. Inhale, shin up into the hands. Exhale, shin or leg draws in close. Inhale, let it float away. Exhale, draw it in a little closer. One more time, inhale, draw away. Exhale, pull close. And then find somewhere between there, interlace behind the back of the leg. Press the leg into your hand. Straighten the leg as much as you're able to. Circle one way, circle the other way. Slide the hands a little higher up. So think about reaching, feeling the shoulder blades separate. Breathing into the back. This foot can stay here. You could float that right leg. You could play with a couple rocks, just for fun. And then we'll come back down, feet to the earth, and roll off to the right side so that we can come up to hands and knees. So once you get to hands and knees, make sure you know where your blocks are. Set them up at the upper corners of your space. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, toes untucked, so tops of the feet touching down. If that bugs your arches, your toes tuck under again. On your inhale, drop your belly, roll open through the shoulders, tilt up the hips, look up. And on your exhale, round the spine, tuck under the tailbone, drop the head. Next inhale, back open to cow. And next exhale, round to cat. And so take yourself through some more of these on your own and let this kind of unfold into any movement that feels good. So cat, cow, you could round around, you could close your eyes. And we'll make our way back to a child's pose, drawing your knees a little wider. Let your hips sink back. Reach out through your hands, let your forehead fall down. Take some deep breaths here. Take a walk with your hands to reach toward the right corner of the room. Root a little bit more into your left hip. Breathe along the left side. Start your playlist if you haven't already. Walk through center, reach out to the left diagonal. Root through the right hip. Breathe through the right side. Walk on back through center. And let's come back up to all fours. And from all fours, step your right toes to touch behind you. And you can kind of pulse back into the right heel, a little dynamic stretch for the calf. And so when you next exhale, find somewhere in between where you were rocking. Feel the belly and ribs draw up, float the right leg up. And then touch it behind the left leg. Peer over your left shoulder, see if you can find that left foot in your line of vision, right foot in your line of vision. Come through center and draw the right leg out to the side. I'm going to do that a few more times. So swing it back, touch the right foot behind the left, peer over your left shoulder. Come through center, working core strength and outer hip strength, draw it to the side. And one more time, step it back. Peek over your left shoulder, draw it out to the side, step the foot down, and then rise up to this kneeling shape, gate pose. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see that a little bit better. Stretching out long through the arms. With your exhale, tilt toward your outstretched leg and reach down through that shin that's on the ground. Roll back through your top ribs, maybe even look up. And then you can circle down, bring it back to all fours, so draw that right leg in. And extend that left leg back, tucking the toes under. You got a couple rocks back through the heel. And then find somewhere in between to pause. Belly and ribs draw up, float that left leg, touch it off to the side, peek over your right shoulder. Come up through center, swing it out to the left, hover in space, strong. Swing it back, peek. Draw up, swing the leg off to the side, hover. And one more time, touch it back, peek over your shoulder. As you swing it off to the side, step down that left foot, rise up, you're kneeling on the right shin. Stretch the arms out wide. Tilt toward the outstretched leg. Reach down through the right shin, turn back the right ribs. I've got a glimpse of a beautiful sunset out my window right now. Maybe you can catch one too. Circle your hands down, come back to all fours. And then adjust either your knees back or your hands forward so that you're a little bit longer than all fours. Tuck under your toes, take a good breath in. And with your exhale, let the hips lift, keeping the knees a little bent so that you're able to get this feeling of the sitting bones lifting high. Shake out the head a little bit, pedal out the legs. Keep a little bend in the knees, walk your feet about halfway up your mat. And then walk your hands back to your feet or just kind of shift your weight back to your feet. Keep the knees bent, so you want to get this feeling of the upper body draping over the legs. Hold on to your opposite elbows, let your head hang. You can sway a little bit side to side. And you can shift forward and back. Release your elbows, bring your hands to your hips, and keeping that soft bend in the knees, come all the way up to stand. From here, take a walk so you're at the front of the mat. Step the feet a little wider than your hips distance. And we're going to work the hip hinge. So it doesn't mean that we're coming into a real deep seat here. You're starting to let your hips hinge back, so it's a feeling of sticking your butt behind you. Letting your knees bend a little bit, and if it helps, reaching your hands forward. And we'll do that a few times. So this is going to strengthen glutes and hamstrings and let them help us lower into this kind of squat type shape. Functional movement, good for our bodies, helpful for the tasks of daily living. We'll just do like 5 million more of these. Just kidding, how about 2 more? Hinge the hips back and rise. See if you can feel the heels connecting to the earth. Stay, swim your arms back just for a second, and with your inhale, let that momentum help you lift. Step your feet under your hips. Soft knees as you fold forward, reach out for the blocks. Set them at their highest height and walk them in front of you. Then lift up for an upside down L shape. Pause there. Belly and ribs lift up. You look a little forward. You should feel your core working here. Collarbone stretching apart. Gaze in front of you just a little bit. Then walk your blocks to the outer edges of the feet and step back your left toes. So if you can, one big step back, maybe more than one big step back. And then you can adjust what your blocks are doing here. So they could be lower. You want to feel grounded under the hands. And use that grounding to help your hips feel a little more able to settle lower. Look slightly forward. And then just lift your hips any amount. So maybe your knee goes straight. It really doesn't matter if it goes straight. And we'll do that a couple more times. Inhale to bend. Exhale to lengthen. Inhale to bend. And exhale to lengthen. Bend into your right knee. Release your left knee down. Untuck the left toes. Walk your hands up to the top of the right knee. Press your upper body nice and straight. Press down through the top of that back foot. So imagine all of your back toenails are touching down. Let the arms rise up. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. With your exhale, place your hands down on your blocks. Let your hips shift back. Wiggle your right foot a little further forward. Turn to the heel. Take your hand to your right hip and draw it down. Feel free to keep a bend in your right knee. Sit right here, hang out right here, or you can drop a little closer to that outstretched leg, that's up to you. Rise up, move your left hand in the block further off to the left. Lean to the left, you can keep hanging on to that hip. You can raise the arm up. Sometimes it's nice even to let that arm drape behind the back for a moment. So the placement of the arm kind of helps you in that turn to the right. You can even let your head hang. Unwrap that pretzel type shape. Let's draw the right leg back to meet the left. Set the blocks out of your way for the moment. Move your left hand more toward the center line of your mat and raise your right arm up to the sky. Now draw underneath. Set the arm underneath, shoulder to the side of the mat, head to the side of the mat. Walk your left hand a little further forward. Stay there or drape your arm behind your back. Place the left hand back down to the earth. Inhale to raise the right arm back up to the sky. And then place your right hand down. Walk the hands a little forward. Let the hips shift forward of the knees. So now you're more in a supported plank rather than hands and knees or quadruped shape. Keep stretching your collarbones away from each other. Wrap your shoulder blades onto your back. And then bend the elbows so they mostly point back till you lower all the way to the belly. And when you get there, lift and lengthen the legs. Walk the hands just behind the shoulders, kind of alongside the ribs. And lift for just a tiny little cobra, gentle lift. As you exhale, lower. Inhale, lift again. You can lift a little higher. Hug your outer ankles in so your heels are in line with your toes. And lower. Your third inhale can be another cobra. It can be an up dog, arms pressing straight, hips lifting. So this is optional. You can keep hips and knees on the ground. So you might like to come through hands and knees. We'll tuck under the toes and lift the hips to down dog and take a few breaths there. Knees soft, working the strength of the arms. So root down to the inner edges of your hands. Feel a lift from the center of each palm. Take one more breath. And with your inhale, lift to tiptoes, look forward and just start this walk forward. You can stop about halfway up your mat. Shift your weight. Hang over your legs, holding on to opposite elbows. Then bring your hands up to your hips. Keep that soft bend and rise all the way up to stand. We'll take that on the other side. So walk up to the mat, wide stance. Creasing the front of the hips, bend the knees, let the hips hinge back. Reach forward if that helps. Keep your feet nice and grounded. And then rise up. We'll do a few more. Hinge the hips, pin the heels to the mat, reach out, and rise. Here's 3. If you're feeling warm, knees are good. You could go lower, totally optional, rising back up. Here's 2. And rising. Last one. Hold on to this last one for an extra breath. Swim the arms back. See if that helps you feel the hips hinge back. And then big inhale to sweep it up. Walk your feet a little closer. Turn your toes forward if they were turning out. Soft knees as you dive forward. Reach for those blocks. Put them at the highest height. Walk them in front of you. Rise halfway up. Collarbones broad. Belly and ribs drawing in. Stable and secure. Walk the blocks to the outer edges of the feet. Step your right toes back. You can change the height of the blocks. I want you to feel that the hands are supported. So the more we can cultivate this firm foundation, the easier this is going to feel. You don't want to be reaching and unsupported under the fingers. Lift the hips, lengthen the legs any amount. Inhale to bend. Exhale to lengthen. Inhale to bend. Exhale to lengthen. Inhale, bend your left knee. Release your right knee down. Untuck the right toes and again root that top of the foot. Root the toenails against the mat. Let the arms sweep up. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Place your hands down. Take the blocks under your hands, shift your hips back and wiggle the left foot further forward. Turn to the heel. Take your hand into your left hip. You can't see it on this side. Draw that hip down. It's fine to keep a bend in the left knee. Tall, long spine. Stay right here, or you can fold a little closer. Lifting up. Move the right hand in the block further off to the right. Lean off to the right. And you can just keep holding the hip as you turn off to your left. If you wanted to, you could wave the left arm behind you. You could let the left arm drape behind the back, wrapping open that left shoulder, maybe even letting the head hang right ear toward right shoulder. Start to unwind. Draw the left leg back to meet the right. Set the blocks out of your way for the moment. And set up that slightly pitched forward from quadruped shape. So hips forward of the knees, walk your hands a little forward. Hang out right here. If you want to, you tuck under the toes and lift the knees. So that's your choice. Same ending point. With your exhale, you work on pointing the elbows back. They might not brush your sides, but they want to point right behind the shoulder heads. Lower to your belly. Flip to the tops of the feet. Root the tops of the feet. Hands alongside your ribs. Inhale, lift for a little baby cobra. And exhale, lower. Working the rhythm of the breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Third inhale can be another cobra. If you want, the arms press straight. Shoulder blades wrap gently onto the back. They don't squeeze together. Face really forward, even though it's called up dog. Should be called forward dog. Tuck under your toes, come through hands and knees if you like. Bend your knees, hips high, hands rooted. Keep a good amount of bend in your knees. Walk your feet as far forward as they're gonna go. Shift the weight into the feet, hinge the hips back. Once you're here, put your hands against your shins to press yourself up halfway. It's, again, fine to bend the knees. Establish that support all the way around the core. And then let's see if we can stand right from here. Hands to prayer at the heart, step up to the top of the mat. So from here, let's step the right foot back and turn to face the side of the room. I'm going to turn my mat a little bit so that you can see me straight on. So we're going to take a wide stance. And I'm just going to take 1 second to make sure I'm in the frame in Instagram. Yes, I am. Okay. Have the blocks handy at the center. That probably makes the most sense. And let's start with the toes turning a little out. And again, working this kind of hip hinge shape. So bend the knees, hinge the hips back, sweep the hands forward. This is a wider stance than we took before. And then go ahead and rise up. And we'll do that 2 more times. Swim the arms forward, bend the knees, hinge the hips back, and rise. 1 more time, hips hinge back, arms reach forward, hold it. Swim the arms back. And then big inhale as you rise up to stand. Now we'll turn the right toes out to your right. Bump your left heel a little behind your toes. Take a nice long stance here. So take up most of the length of your mat, I would say. And then let's take these blocks and place them outside of the right foot. Lowest height and then highest height stacked on top of that. From there, bend your knee. Aim it in line with your toes, arms nice and long. Right thigh is broad, it's rolling open. Inner line of the right leg is reaching long. Imagine your outer right kneecap plugging back toward your outer right hip. And it's okay for this left hip to roll in a little bit. Stay there, stay strong, dig into that right heel. Let's sweep it up to peaceful. And then put your right forearm to your right thigh. Take the left arm up. And you could drape that arm behind the back like we did a moment ago. Wrapping open the shoulder, letting the head hang. If you'd like to set a little bit lower, your hand can come to that block. You can adjust the height a little lower if you want to. And we're gonna take 3 more breaths here. So your legs should be working, you should be warm. We don't have to move fast to work hard. Last deep breath. Free that left arm. Rise up, let's tip it back to peaceful warrior. So one moment to keep that bend in the knee. And then go ahead and push the right leg straight, stretch. Coming up right, shorten up your stance a little bit. So heel toe that left foot in maybe a foot length. This right knee can bend, the hips hinge back, reach out. Place your right hand on your lower leg. Again, I like that block. Turn left ribs over right, turn left arm over right. Again, if you'd like to drape the left arm behind the back, you can. You can let the head hang. As the head hangs, you really want to work that left shoulder onto the body. So draw the top of the shoulder down, stretch the left collarbone out broad. Last breath. Free the left arm if it was draping behind your back. Come upright and turn to face this way. So grab your blocks and deliver them over to the other side of the mat. Lowest height, highest height. Turn your left toes to the left. Slide your stance a little bit longer. Right heel bumps back, left arm forward, right arm back. Hang out right here. Left thigh is rolling open. Inner line of that thigh reaches long. So you're reaching your inner knee forward. You're plugging your outer knee back. And again, feel free to let this right hip roll a little forward. So you don't, if you ever heard like put yourself in a toaster, you can ignore that cue in my class. Keep the bend in the knee, sweep it up to peaceful. And you can start with your left forearm on your thigh. Raise your right arm up. Hang out right here. You can let the right arm drape behind your back. Think again about letting this right shoulder wrap open. Head can hang. You can release your hand to the block. I'm going to set my block a tiny bit lower. And then get used to the feeling of your heels digging into the mat. The more you can feel the heels digging into the mat, the more you'll call upon the backs of the legs to help you, which for most of us is pretty underutilized. Glutes and hamstrings need some strength. One more breath. Free your right arm, reach your feet, rise up. We'll take it to peaceful. Last moment of strength here. Push your left leg straight. Come on upright, hop your back foot in, a footprint length, let's say. And find the heels. The hips can hinge back. Keep wrapping forward through this inner thigh, inner knee. Plant your hand on that stack of blocks. Right hand over the left. Right arm over the left. Drape your right arm behind your back. Wrap open your shoulders, let your head hang. And take a breath. Work the inner edge of your front foot to the mat. Try to let the toes just be easy, not gripping, not tense. One more breath here. Free the top arm. Root into your feet, rise up. Turn your toes towards center. And then let's again turn the toes a little out. Maybe widen your stance. So we're going to bend the knees, sit into the hips. Stay strong and grounded, hands to prayer at the heart. So on your inhale, let's circle the arms out and all the way up. And then you want to feel like you're moving the air. So really press the palms down. I'd love for you to feel that your core is working here. Inhale, circle out and up. Draw belly button in, side waist in, engage through the low back. Exhale, press down. One more time. Inhale, circle out and up. Exhale, press down. Good. As you next inhale, circle out and up. Press the legs straight. Hands to prayer at the heart. Turn your toes forward. So your heels are roughly as wide as your pinky toes. And bow forward. And you might like blocks here for under the hands. So take the blocks under the hands if you'd like. This also could be a moment for you to just hang forward over the legs. I like to hold opposite elbows, feeling the forearms nice and heavy. Keep your hands on your blocks or on the ground, and let's bend into the right knee, shifting the weight over to the right. If you like, you can turn your toes a little out. I want you to feel that hip hinge. Right hip hinges back. Coming up through center, bend into the left knee. The feet stay fully on the ground. You're digging into that left heel, hips hinge back. And up through center. Let's try that one more time. Right knee bends, hip hinges back. You can use your hand to help you feel that. So I'm pulling my right hip back. Coming back through center. Left hand to the left hip. Pull the hip back. Good. Strong push away. Find those blocks. Just kind of walk with the blocks until you're back to face the front of the mat. Spin up to your back tiptoes. Push off the back tiptoes. Step the right foot up to meet the left. Slide your hands to your shins. Rise halfway up. And then fold a little deeper. Root into your feet. Strong through the heels, rise all the way up to stand, palms meet overhead. Exhale, prayer to the heart. So I'm gonna turn to the back of my mat so that I am still facing you. You don't have to. From the top of your mat, wherever you are, you'll keep your right foot at the front of the mat and step your left foot back. And then go ahead and turn to face the side of the mat once again. So from here, let's set up our warrior one shape. So you're going to turn the right toes out to the right. And then you're going to walk the right foot over a little bit further off center. So toward the right side of your mat. And then you might do actually a little hop here. So hopping so that the left heel can come down. You're generally squared forward, although maybe not perfectly squared forward, and then the arms rise. So this shape is shorter than our warrior stances, and it's a little bit more laterally placed. So the right foot is off on the right half of the mat, the left foot is on the left half of the mat. Circle your hands behind you. See if you can interlace your hands. Work the movement of the shoulders, so actually circle a few times. And then see if you can stop when you circle those shoulders back. Shoulder blades around the back. Mid-back should be working. My elbows are bent here. My hands are actually pressing against the sacrum. And you can stay here or you can begin to fold forward. Continuing to press the hands against the sacrum. Maybe looking a little bit out in front of the right toes. Work those feet against the mat, nice and strong. If you're comfortable, you could let your head hang. Try looking towards your back foot. That might make you a little bit wobbly, that's okay. One more breath. And then rise it back up. Free the arms and push the mat away. Push your right leg straight. You're gonna keep the general setup, just hop your back foot even a little bit closer and press your legs pretty straight. Activate the core. Belly and ribs hug in, sides hug in. Fly the arms back. Think about hinging from the hip. So we're still working the hip hinge here. Even a tiny little bow forward is fantastic. If you're ready for it, fly those arms back. Try to keep that right foot grounding. So I was just peeling my toes off the mat. I'm going to set my toes down. One more breath. And then reach for those blocks, probably at the highest height. And feel free to bend your right knee. So you're still going to feel a lot if you're bending the right knee. Take your right hand to your right hip, draw it back, and you can hold that right hip back. This is similar to what we did at the beginning of class as you fold forward. Rising back up, move your left hand and your block closer to your right foot. Turn to peek over to the right. Keep holding on to that right hip. You could raise your right arm up to the sky. You could let your right arm drape behind your back. Pulling your crown forward as you hug your right hip underneath you. Take one more breath. And unwind that whole thing. Come back around to center. You can bring the blocks along with and set up a wide stance. You can bring your blocks with you. Sometimes they slide, but imagine taking a down dog with wide legs. So reach your hands out in front of you, push into your hands, let your head go, breathe. And then walk your hands back in, and then you can bring little blocks along with you as you turn to face this way. So we're gonna hop the back foot in a little closer, move the left foot off to the left, right foot off to the right. As the right knee bends, it's bending in line with the left foot. This is a shorter stance than Warrior Two, arms rise. Mostly square to the direction you're facing. Circle your hands behind you. Interlace the way your nut is used to. And press the hand against the sacrum for some leverage and start to roll your shoulders a few times. Your elbows can stay bent. Wrap the shoulders back, keep them back. Try not to jut the ribs way forward, and maybe you're staying upright. Really plug in that back foot. Maybe you're bowing forward. You could maybe gaze towards your back foot. Your upper back should be working here. So you should feel that the muscles in between the shoulder blades are asking them to stay a little closer together on the back. Take one more breath. Rising up, push the mat away. Push that left leg long. You can reach the arms up. You can hop a tiny, tiny bit closer even. And start to fly the arms back, hinge from the hips. And even a tiny little tilt forward is going to work your back core, going to work actually the whole circle of the core. Try again to see what the left toes are doing. So I tend to be a toe tenser. So I want to lightly set my toes down. And then hands to the blocks. Feel free to cultivate a bend in this left knee. Soften the head forward and take a few deep breaths. Rise up halfway, move the right hand block closer to the left foot. It's still fine to bend into this left knee. Bring your left hand to your left hip and drag that hip back as you start to spin to peek off to the left. You could raise your left arm up. You could let your left arm drape behind the back. Hug your left hip behind you. Keep connected to that right heel, so the right leg is super strong. And then release. And again, you can walk with the blocks as you walk back around to center. Toes turn forward, heels step a little wider. And take that down dog variation. So the legs are wide, the hands are reaching out. And we'll try a little twist here. So I'll be your mirror. Draw your right arm under. Kind of reach to the left. See if you can peek underneath your left arm. If it's available, you're going to reach out and hold that opposite leg with your hand. Start to unwind, and let's try that the other way. So right hand down. Again, I'm your mirror for the moment. Reach your left arm under. Maybe catch your outer leg. And then come back. Walk your hands in a little closer. Fire up the core. The feet can walk a little closer. Your knees can bend. Hands to your hips. Guide with the crown as you come all the way up. We'll do a little bit of balancing before we take it down. Feet underneath your hips. Sometimes a block is nice for this, for underneath. So I'll be your mirror. Right foot down. Left toes on the block. Heel lightly resting against the inner leg. If you don't need it, toes touching down, toes at the lower leg. It's absolutely fine to put your foot at your knee in high classes. I don't feel like that puts any stress on the knee joint. In fact, more stress would be here. If you know how levers work, there'd be more force on the knee there than at the joint. So you don't have to worry about it in my class. Most important is how it feels, right? Not what a teacher tells you. Arms rise, steady gaze. Try to avoid the sort of the flare out to the side. So bring that right hip in and take yourself through 2 more good breaths here. Hands to prayer at the heart. Step your left foot down. And let's try that on the other side. So again, you can have the block under your toes. You can have your toes on the earth. You can have your foot at your lower leg. Foot right at the knee. Again, will be rebels in my class. Foot higher up. The big thing is that, again, you're trying not to torque this knee out to the side. So wherever you put the foot, you want the standing leg to be pressing against that foot. They're meeting together. One isn't sort of taking over. Hands to prayer, arms rising, whatever you'd like. Steady gaze. Strong connection to your breathing. Hands to prayer, set the foot down. All right, so let's make sure that we've got, I won't need your blocks till the very end of class, so set them at the front. Since your bolster up at the front as well, let's have the blanket in what I call a chunky fold, so like a very narrow rectangle shape that's got a little bit of height, but not as much height as the bolster. And we'll come down to a seat. We might use our strap. I might run out of time, as is normally the case. So let's take a second here and just work on a little bit of core strength. So lowering down to your forearms. See if you can just prop the heart up nice and strong. Hang out here, press the earth away. Send your right leg straight. And maybe that's where you stay. Switch off when you're ready to switch off. If you'd like to try both, try both. Maintain the integrity of the upper body. That's your main job. So your choice should really happen. What you choose should be based on what you can do with the upper body. We'll stay here for like 10 more minutes. No big deal. Just kidding. 1 more breath. And then set the feet down. And scoot yourself so that when you lay back, this chunky rectangle of the blanket is basically hitting the backs of your lungs. So your shoulders are free. I like to do like goalpost arms here. Your legs can do whatever they want. So straight, bent, something crazy. And we're just going to do some focus on lung breathing. I felt like we could all use a refresher on feeling the lungs move, feeling the thoracic cavity move. So as you take a few breaths here, you're feeling the back engage against that blanket. You're also feeling the side ribs and the front ribs engage with space around you, right? So front and side ribs have freedom, back ribs have resistance. So you're literally making your muscles stronger on your back. And it's good to know there's a lot of your diaphragm that's happening really on the back of the body. So we talk about diaphragmatic breath happening in the belly quite a bit. But you should actually really feel it mostly on the back. So see if you can connect to that mid to low back, like the beginning of your waist on your back. Breathing against the prop of the bolster, or rather the blanket. 1 more breath here. Okay, so you can stay here, or if you're comfortable for a few moments on your belly, you're gonna set up kind of at that similar spot, belly down. Okay, so my chest is free. My mid body is against the blanket. I like to just stack my hands. Again, legs can do whatever you want them to. And now you're getting some feedback for the diaphragm on the front of the body, right? So you can feel that pressing against the bolster. And here I really want you to key into that feeling of freedom through the back lungs. So breathing, imagine the breath coming all the way down into the bottom of the lungs. Touching that top dome of the diaphragm. And take 3 more really good breaths here. If you love this, do it some more and just ignore that I've stopped doing it. I only have an hour, but you have as long as you want. So even a minute or 2 or 5 minutes would be awesome with that. Otherwise, bring yourself up to all fours and try to do some cat-cow here just to move the spine and make your low back feel okay. We're going to flip it around and come onto the back. And we'll dispense with the strap. We won't use it tonight. But you might use it for this. How's that for clarity? When you get to your back, draw the knees into the chest, hug them, rock around a little bit. And then let's take a happy baby. So a happy baby is knees bending. Imagine you're stepping the feet on the sole of the ceiling and then you reach up and hold the outer edges of the feet. Well, the arm is inside of the leg. So if that is a tough reach for you, then actually you could find your strap, whatever you're using, and just pull on the strap to get something similar. You don't get as good of sort of a leverage with that, but it'll absolutely do in a pinch. And hang out here, rocking a little bit. Let's keep the right foot in our hand and let that left leg stretch out. And probably just the back of the heel will touch down. Maybe you can bend the knee and put the sole of the foot to the mat. I love to rock side to side and just kind of notice how things change. You could try straightening the right leg. Lots of sort of places that you can play here. And then I always say, get really interested in what your inner ankle is doing. And this might be a great place for a strap too, is to just kind of pull. So the knee goes wide, the foot draws in. If you have a loop, sometimes it's fun to loop it around your head. I already had that loop made from earlier. So optional, but kind of fun. And let's switch that to the other side. So keep your left foot in your hand, free the right leg out. This is basically like a high lunge or a warrior one turned on your back, which is a nice reminder of just how much hip mobility some of those warrior poses ask of us. You can bend the knee of the leg you're not holding. You can rock side to side. You can try straightening the left leg. So you can play a little bit here. And then again, be like, what's up with my left ankle? What's even happening? And then you can play there. You could try that little loop situation if you wanted to. So I always put the loop just over the tips of my ears. I don't know why that feels so good, but it does. And you got one more breath. If you used that little loop. Side to side, bring the knees in for one more good hug and circle. And then we're going to set up for resting. So I'll have you, again, rock to one side or rock all the way up to seated. And if you'd like, just kind of one last seated forward fold. I always recommend the height of the blanket if you're newer to forward folds. So that you've just got maneuvering room to tilt and tuck your pelvis, which we did at the very beginning of class. Soles of the feet together, knees wide. Maybe today you're just sitting up tall, feeling the ground underneath you. If you'd like to bow forward, you sort of start with a long spine, but are free to allow yourself to come into a little bit of rounding. And stay there as long as you'd like. When you're ready, come on up. This blanket, there's lots of sort of customization that you can do here. The blanket, I like to have exactly where it was when we were working the breathing through the lungs a moment ago, so feel free to set that up there. If you got the pillow, the bolster, and the 2 blocks, I call this Stonehenge. So 2 blocks a pillow on top. Lots of ways you could make this happen without legit yoga props. So like a couple pillows, a couple books and a couple pillows. The height could be really even as high as a chair. So you could even be propping your legs on a chair and then come on up. So you're supporting the calves there. And I got this to prop up the lungs and the heart. My arms are in these goalposts up over the top of the blanket. If you feel like you want a little bit more grounding and warmth, the blanket could come over you instead. And the first few moments of this pose, you can get in touch with the breath a little bit more actively, meaning you're moving the breath. It's not doing its own thing. You can work that sort of lung-focused breathing. Eventually, as you fall in toward resting, see if you can find this feeling of effortlessness with the breath. So smooth inhale and exhale, just enough breath to support you. Maybe even focusing on the pause at the bottom of the inhale, the pause at the top of the exhale. And you are welcome to stay here as long as you would like. So let yourself rest until you're ready to get up and finish your evening. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have requests or things you'd like to work on in any of my classes, feel free to send me a DM. And enjoy this rest time, you guys. No rush. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. Donation info is up on the screen now. If you're able to donate, I'm able to continue to share these practices with you. So thanks for the support you can provide. See you soon.